I don't know who I came to talk to today, but somebody in this room has been praying, fasting, believing, and waiting, and it feels like God's clock is late. It feels like heaven is behind schedule. But I came to tell you, God is never late. He's always on time. His timing is not punishment, it's preparation. His delay is not denial, it's development. God's timing is training your trust. Because if you can't trust Him in the waiting, you'll mishandle the blessing when it comes. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. They are trust-building seasons. He's not trying to break you. He's trying to build you. He's not trying to frustrate you. He's trying to fortify you. God's timing is not about the clock. It's about your character. Somebody shout, "Lord, train my trust." So many of us wrestle with the tension of waiting. We pray with expectation. We sow with faith. We stand on the promises of God, and yet heaven seems quiet. The answer does not arrive when we think it should. The door does not open when we expect it to swing wide, and the blessing feels like it's stuck in traffic on its way to us. And the enemy starts whispering, "See, God doesn't care. He's forgotten about you. It's not going to happen." But I came to tell somebody today, the delay you're experiencing is not a denial. It is divine development. God has not overlooked you. He is working behind the scenes to shape you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the very thing He promised. When you understand this, it changes how you view the waiting. Because denial shuts the door, but delay simply says, "Not yet." Denial says, "No," but delay says, "I'm getting you ready." Denial is rejection, but delay is preparation. God delays because He knows what you're asking for, what you're praying for, what you're hoping for is too heavy for where you are right now. If He gave it to you before you were ready, the blessing would crush you instead of carrying you. The waiting season is God's way of building your spiritual muscles so that when the weight of the promise arrives, you can lift it without breaking. Think about David. He was anointed king as a teenager, but he didn't sit on the throne until years later. That wasn't denial, it was divine development. In the fields with the sheep, God was teaching him faithfulness. Facing Goliath, God was training him for courage. Running from Saul, God was teaching him to trust His timing. Every delay was shaping the king inside the shepherd. If David had rushed the process, he would have mishandled the palace. But because he endured the delay, he stepped into destiny prepared. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you feel like you've been anointed but not appointed. You've got the oil, but you don't have the opportunity yet. You've got the vision, but the resources haven't lined up yet. Don't you let the devil convince you it's denial. No, child of God, it's development. God is making sure that when the door swings open, you don't just walk through it, you own it. When the blessing arrives, you don't just hold it, you steward it. Sometimes we think waiting is punishment, but waiting is actually protection. God delays certain things because He sees what you don't. He sees enemies you don't know about, traps you haven't noticed, weaknesses you haven't confronted. He says, "I'm going to delay the blessing until I strengthen your character. I'm going to delay the answer until I deepen your roots. I'm going to delay the breakthrough until I prepare your hands to handle it." What you call a setback, God calls set up. What you see as a stall, Heaven calls strategy. Delay is like the cocoon for the caterpillar. To the caterpillar, it may feel like restriction, isolation, even darkness. But inside that cocoon, transformation is happening. Wings are being formed. Strength is being built. And when the time is right, that same cocoon that looked like confinement becomes the very place where breakthrough occurs. The butterfly emerges not weaker, but stronger, ready to fly. The cocoon wasn't denial, it was development. The truth is, your destiny is too important for God to rush. He loves you too much to let you step into something you're not equipped to handle. So, He lets delay train you. He lets life develop you. He lets circumstances stretch you. And though it feels uncomfortable, though it feels unfair, it is necessary. You cannot have a crown without a cross. You cannot have glory without grinding. You cannot have elevation without endurance. Delay is the training ground of champions. Look at Joseph. He dreamed of greatness as a boy, but he was sold into slavery, thrown into prison, and forgotten by men. Every season of delay felt like rejection, but God was developing him. In the pit, he learned humility. In Potiphar's house, he learned management. In the prison, he learned leadership. And when the palace finally called his name, Joseph had the maturity to save a nation. Delay didn't destroy him, it developed him. That's why I came to remind you, don't despise the delay. Don't curse the waiting. Don't let frustration rob you of faith. Because while you are waiting, God is working. While you are standing still, God is setting things in motion. While you are waiting for it to manifest, heaven is arranging it, shaping it, aligning it, and preparing it. And when it finally comes, when the blessing shows up, when the promise manifests, you'll look back and thank God for the delay. Because you'll realize that what you thought was holding you back was really holding you together. What you thought was slowing you down was actually building you up. What you thought was denial was really divine development. So, the next time you're tempted to say, Lord, why so long? Why not now? Flip it. Say, Lord, thank you for the delay. Thank you for the training. Thank you for the development. Because when you say, yes, I'll be ready. When you open the door, I won't stumble. When you release the blessing, I won't drop it. I'll carry it with strength, with wisdom, and with trust. Somebody shout, my delay is not my denial. It's my development. Waiting is one of the hardest assignments God gives His children. We live in a world that craves speed, convenience, and instant results. Everything around us says, now. We can click, swipe, or order and get it almost immediately. But heaven doesn't operate on Amazon Prime. God's kingdom doesn't move according to earthly clocks. He has a divine timetable, and often He asks us to wait. Not because He enjoys watching us suffer, but because waiting seasons are sacred classrooms where He strengthens our faith and teaches us patience. Faith and patience are not developed when everything goes your way. Faith does not grow when every prayer is answered overnight. Patience is not formed when doors open the moment you knock. No, faith is strengthened when you can't see the outcome, but you still believe God is able. Patience is developed when you've prayed the prayer, sowed the seed, cried the tears, and yet nothing has shifted, and you still say, though He slay me, yet will I trust Him. Waiting seasons are where faith and patience are forged like steel in the fire. Think about Abraham. God promised him a son, but years passed and his arms remained empty. Every day was a test. Every month that passed was a reminder of delay. But God wasn't ignoring Abraham. He was strengthening him. The Bible says Abraham staggered, not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to God. How do you get strong in faith? By exercising it through waiting. By believing when it looks impossible. By holding on when everything in you wants to let go. The muscles of faith are only built in the gym of delay. Somebody right now is in that place. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've served, and yet the answer hasn't shown up. It feels like God pressed pause on your breakthrough, and the enemy whispers, "See, your faith doesn't work. Give up. Stop believing." But the devil is a liar. God is using this season to stretch your faith. He's pulling it like a bow so that when he releases it, you'll soar farther than you ever imagined. Waiting seasons teach you how to trust the God of the promise more than the timing of the promise. And then there's patience. Lord, we don't like that word. Patience doesn't mean sitting in a corner twiddling your thumbs. Patience in the Bible means endurance, staying power. It means learning how to remain steady when storms are raging and trials are pressing. It means refusing to let go of your confidence, even when your circumstances scream otherwise. Patience is the glue that holds faith together until manifestation arrives. James tells us, "The trying of your faith works patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be entire, lacking nothing." That means without patience, your faith is incomplete. Faith believes, but patience holds on. Faith says, "I receive it," but patience says, "I'll wait until it shows up." Faith shouts on the mountaintop, but patience endures in the valley. God knows if you're going to carry his promises, you need both. Waiting is like spiritual weight training. Every day of delay adds resistance, and resistance builds strength. That's why Paul said, "We glory in tribulations, also knowing that tribulation works patience, and patience, experience, and experience, hope." In other words, every trial, every delay, every unanswered prayer is adding layers to your spiritual life. It's teaching you endurance. It's producing wisdom. It's filling you with hope that cannot be shaken. Consider Joseph again. 13 years passed between his dream and his destiny. 13 years of betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment. But in that waiting, God was building faith in him. Faith to trust the dream even when it looked dead. Patience to endure false accusations without quitting. And when the palace door finally opened, Joseph was not the same boy who bragged about dreams. He was a man who carried wisdom, humility, and endurance. The waiting season prepared him to stand tall in the spotlight. Waiting seasons also reveal what's in us. Impatience exposes immaturity. Doubt exposes weakness. Complaining exposes a lack of trust. But when you choose faith and patience in the waiting room, it shows God you're ready for the blessing. Waiting seasons are God's way of saying, "I'm going to grow you up before I lift you up." Because promotion without patience leads to collapse. Blessings without faith lead to pride. But when you've been trained in the waiting, you won't crumble under the weight of destiny. Some of you are praying for things right now: marriage, healing, business opportunities, ministry doors. And you're frustrated because nothing is moving. But God says, "I've got you in training." You're not just waiting, you're lifting in the Spirit. Every tear is building endurance. Every prayer is adding strength. Every day of silence is deepening your trust. And when it comes, you won't just have the blessing. You'll have the character to keep it. Don't despise the waiting. Don't think God is punishing you. The waiting season is God's training ground. He's sharpening your faith like a sword. He's strengthening your patience like steel. He's preparing you for more than you asked for. Because when God finally moves, it won't just be an answer to prayer. It will be exceedingly, abundantly above all you asked or thought. So lift your head in the waiting room. Wipe your tears in the waiting room. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Tell the devil, I may not have it yet, but I'm not giving up. I may not see it yet, but I'm still believing. I may be waiting, but I'm not wasting. God is working on me, and I'm getting stronger every day. Somebody shout, my waiting is working for me. Trust is easy when you can see everything clearly, when the path is laid out, when the doors swing open, when the provision is obvious. Trust doesn't cost you much. Anybody can trust God when the evidence lines up. But real trust, the kind of trust that heaven demands, is birthed when sight is limited. It is when you don't see the answer, when you can't trace the path, when you don't know how or when or where, and yet you still say, Lord, I trust you. That is when trust grows. That is when faith is activated. The Bible says, we walk by faith and not by sight, and yet many of us want to reverse it. We want to walk by sight and sprinkle in faith, but sight will fool you. Sight will show you closed doors, empty accounts, bad reports, and broken situations. Sight will make you question God's goodness. Sight will make you lean on your own understanding. But faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith rises when sight runs out. Faith says, I don't have to see it to believe it. I just have to trust the one who promised it. Think about Peter stepping out of the boat. He couldn't see how water would hold him. Logic said he should sink. Sight said it was impossible. But when Jesus said, come, faith was activated. He stepped out, and as long as his trust was fixed on Jesus, the impossible became possible. The moment he shifted back to sight, looking at the wind and the waves, he began to sink. That's the tension we all face. Do I trust what I see, or do I trust what he said? Trust grows in those moments when you shut your eyes to sight and open your heart to faith. Trust is not trusting when you know the outcome. Trust is leaning when the bridge is shaky. Trust is holding on when you don't have the blueprint. Trust is obeying when God gives you step 1, but doesn't reveal step 2. Trust is packing your bags like Abraham and moving to a land you've never seen before. The reason God limits your sight is because if you could see everything, you wouldn't need faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please Him. Faith is not passive. Faith is not just sitting back waiting for something to happen. Faith is active. It moves, it steps, it declares, it sows, it obeys. Faith without works is dead. When sight is gone, faith goes to work. That's why blind Bartimaeus could cry out louder than the crowd. Sight wasn't available to him, but trust activated faith in his voice. And Jesus said, your faith has made you whole. Sometimes God blinds you on purpose. He'll shut down opportunities you thought you needed. He'll block paths you thought were the right way. He'll limit your vision so that you lean on His word. Because trust grows in the dark. Trust grows when you can't see the next step. Trust grows when you don't know how He's going to do it, but you believe He will. Job had no sight of deliverance. Everything in his life looked destroyed. His family, his finances, his health. But listen to his words. Though He slay me, yet will I trust Him. That's trust that's not built on sight. That's faith activated in the fire. And because of it, God restored him double for his trouble. The reason some of us are frustrated is because we're trying to live by what we see instead of what we know. Sight says the mountain is too big. Faith says, if I speak to it, it shall be moved. Sight says the valley is too deep. Faith says, though I walk through it, I shall not fear. Sight says the storm is too strong. Faith says, peace, be still. Sight reacts to circumstances. Faith responds to God's promises. When sight is limited, your senses sharpen in the spirit. You start praying more. You start seeking Him deeper. You start leaning on His word. And all the while, trust is growing like roots underground, unseen but unshakable. Later, when the blessing comes, people will see your fruit, but they won't know your roots were forged in the season when sight was cut off. Faith is like a muscle. It has to be exercised. And the only way to exercise it is to put it under pressure. Limited sight is pressure. Not knowing where the rent will come from, not knowing how the healing will manifest, not knowing when the breakthrough will happen. That pressure is where trust grows. And the heavier the weight, the stronger your faith becomes. You can't say you trust God if you always demand to see proof. Trust means, Lord, I believe your word even when my eyes can't confirm it. Trust means, I don't know how, but I know you. Trust means, I may not see the way, but I know the waymaker. That's why faith is activated when sight is limited, because it forces you to rely not on what you see, but on who He is. Some of you right now are in that place. You can't see the answer. You don't know how it's going to work out. The numbers don't add up. The diagnosis doesn't look good. The opportunity doesn't appear to exist. But can I tell you something? This is the perfect soil for trust to grow. This is the breeding ground of faith. This is where miracles are born. Because when you come to the end of sight, you've just stepped into the beginning of faith. So stop worrying about what you can't see. Stop stressing over what doesn't add up. Close your natural eyes and open your spiritual ones. Say, Lord, even if I can't see it, I trust you. Even if I don't understand it, I'll obey you. Even if I don't feel it, I'll believe you. Somebody lift your voice and declare, when sight is limited, my faith is activated. God has a way of doing His greatest work in the places nobody sees. We live in a culture that celebrates the spotlight, that craves the stage, that wants applause and recognition. But God doesn't start with the stage. He starts in the shadows. Before He reveals you in public, He refines you in private. Before He manifests you before men, He prepares you before Him. Preparation in hidden places always leads to manifestation in public places. Think about David again. Before he ever held a crown, he held a slingshot. Before anyone chanted his name, he was tending sheep in obscurity. Nobody was watching him fight off lions and bears. Nobody was clapping for his faithfulness in the field. But it was in the hidden place where God shaped his courage, sharpened his skill, and strengthened his trust. And when Goliath stood tall in front of Israel, what David had mastered in private showed up in public. His preparation in secret produced victory in the open. Some of you feel overlooked right now. You're praying, serving, working hard, and it seems like nobody notices. But don't you despise the hidden place. The hidden place is holy ground. The hidden place is God's workshop. That's where He builds the version of you that can handle destiny. Because if you skip the hidden season, you won't have the depth to stand in the visible one. Jesus Himself had hidden years. 30 years in obscurity for 3 years of ministry. 30 years of being a carpenter's son, of studying the Word, of learning obedience, of walking in humility. Nobody wrote books about His boyhood. Nobody praised His preparation. But when He stepped onto the stage of history, the world was never the same. His hidden years prepared Him for His revealed years. If the Son of God had to endure a hidden season, what makes you think you can skip yours? Preparation is not punishment, it's positioning. God is not hiding you to hurt you. He's hiding you to help you. He's keeping you away from certain stages because he knows premature exposure destroys destiny. What looks like delay is actually divine protection. What feels like being overlooked is really being overshadowed by his hand. Because when the time is right, he will reveal you, and no devil in hell will be able to stop it. Joseph is another example. He dreamed in public but was prepared in private. His brothers threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery, and forgot about him. Potiphar's wife lied on him, and he landed in prison. From the outside, it looked like rejection. But in reality, it was preparation. God was teaching him management in Potiphar's house, leadership in the prison, and character through betrayal. All of it was hidden training for public manifestation. And when Pharaoh called his name, Joseph was ready. In one day, he went from the prison to the palace because the hidden place had already prepared him. Preparation in hidden places is uncomfortable because it comes without applause. Nobody claps for your late nights of prayer. Nobody sees your tears in the midnight hour. Nobody notices the discipline of turning down opportunities that don't align with your calling. But heaven is watching. God records every seed you sow in the dark. And when manifestation comes, people will think it happened suddenly. But you'll know, it wasn't sudden, it was hidden. It wasn't luck, it was preparation. Sometimes God lets people underestimate you on purpose. He lets them dismiss you, overlook you, and bypass you. Because he knows when he finally manifests you, it will confound the proud. The same brothers who left Joseph in the pit had to bow before him in the palace. The same family that forgot about David had to watch him be crowned king. The same crowd that crucified Jesus had to witness him rise with all power in his hands. What they didn't see in the hidden place became undeniable in the public place. Don't rush out of the hidden season. Don't demand the stage before you're ready. If God has you behind the curtain, it's because he's still writing your lines. If he hasn't opened the door yet, it's because the foundation is still being laid. If he hasn't released the blessing yet, it's because the weight of glory requires stronger shoulders. You don't want to be revealed before you're ready, because exposure without preparation leads to collapse. Hidden places are where character is forged. It's where humility is birthed. It's where dependence on God is anchored. Anybody can shout on the stage, but can you still praise him in the shadows? Anybody can testify in the spotlight, but can you still trust him when nobody's clapping? The hidden place proves your heart. The hidden place shapes your motives. The hidden place makes sure you want God more than you want glory. And when the manifestation finally comes, it won't be about you. It will be about him. People will look at you and say, "Where did you come from? How did you rise so quickly?" And you'll smile because you'll know it wasn't quick at all. It was years of hidden preparation. It was nights nobody saw. It was battles nobody knew. It was God shaping you in secret so he could showcase you in public. So hold on in your hidden place. Serve faithfully even if nobody applauds. Pray consistently even if nobody hears. Stay disciplined even if nobody notices. Because preparation in hidden places always leads to manifestation in public places. And when God flips the script and pulls back the curtain, you'll be ready. Not because of what you did in the spotlight, but because of what you endured in the shadows. Somebody shout, "I'm being prepared in private for manifestation in public." God is not just concerned with what you're asking for. He's concerned with why you're asking for it. You see, It's not enough for him to bless you with the right thing if you're coming to him with the wrong motives. Blessings in the hands of selfish motives become burdens. Doors opened by impure intentions become traps. So what does God do? He allows time to test you. He uses his timing as a refining fire to expose your motives and purify your intentions. When you don't get it right away, it forces you to confront why you want it in the first place. Do you want the marriage to glorify God or to prove something to people? Do you want the promotion to serve others or to stroke your ego? Do you want the platform to lift his name or just your own? Waiting has a way of shining a light on motives that we try to keep hidden, because delay squeezes what's inside of you. Your true motives rise to the surface. That's why James tells us, you ask and do not receive, because you ask with wrong motives, so that you may spend it on your pleasures. God is not in the business of financing selfishness. He doesn't bless you so you can brag. He blesses you so you can be a blessing. And sometimes the only way to purify that intention is to make you wait. Look at Israel in the wilderness. God promised them Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey. But instead of walking straight in, they wandered 40 years. Why? Because God had to expose their hearts. In the waiting, their grumbling came out. Their rebellion came out. Their idolatry came out. They wanted the promise, but their motives were wrong. They wanted the gift without the giver. And God said, until your motives are purified, you cannot enter. His timing was not just about geography. It was about the condition of their hearts. And let's be honest, waiting exposes us too. It shows whether we really trust him or if we're just using him. It reveals if our prayers are God-centered or self-centered. It unmasks whether we want his will or just our way. Waiting purifies. Waiting strips down. Waiting forces you to lay your intentions bare before the Lord. Think about Hannah. She prayed for a child year after year, and God closed her womb. But as the years passed, her motives shifted. She stopped praying out of competition with Peninnah, and she began praying out of desperation to honor God. She said, Lord, if you give me a son, I will give him back to you. And that's when heaven opened her womb. God waited until her motive aligned with his mission. Samuel wasn't just her baby. He was God's prophet. That waiting season purified her request until it lined up with divine purpose. God will delay blessings until your heart is ready to handle them correctly. Because the blessing isn't the goal. Obedience is. The gift isn't the prize. His glory is. And if you only want what God gives without wanting God himself, your motives will sabotage your destiny. But if you let the waiting purify you, you'll come out with clean hands and a pure heart, ready to carry his glory. Motives matter. Intentions matter. You can fool people with your words. You can dress up your desires to sound holy. But God weighs the heart, and his timing is a scale. It weighs your desire against his will. If your intentions don't balance with his purpose, he will hold it back until they do. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Because nothing is more dangerous than getting what you want for the wrong reasons. David wanted to build the temple, but God said no. His intention was good, but it wasn't God's timing. Instead, Solomon would build it. Why? Because David had blood on his hands, and God wanted a man of peace to build his house. That delay revealed God's motive behind the plan. It wasn't about ego, it was about holiness. Sometimes his timing says, not you, or not now, because he's aligning the intention with his eternal perspective. Maybe that's why you haven't gotten the thing you prayed for yet. Maybe God is still purifying your Why? Maybe he's teaching you that it's not about proving doubters wrong, not about silencing critics, not about looking successful, not about flaunting blessings. It's about glorifying him. And once that shift happens, once your motives are clean, once your intentions are purified, heaven opens. The fire of waiting doesn't just burn away selfish motives. It refines holy ones. It takes your desire from shallow to deep, from temporary to eternal, from self-serving to God-serving. By the time the blessing comes, you don't want it to show off. You want it to serve. You don't want it for applause. You want it for impact. You don't want it for recognition. You want it for revelation. That's what purified intention looks like. So don't despise the timing of God. If it hasn't happened yet, trust that he's still working on you. Trust that he's still refining your why. Trust that he's still aligning your heart with his purpose. Because when your motives are purified, the manifestation will not just bless you. It will bless everybody connected to you. And when it happens, you'll look back and say, Lord, thank you for making me wait. Thank you for exposing what was wrong in me. Thank you for purifying what was selfish in me. Thank you for aligning my intentions with your will. Because when God's timing exposes and purifies, the blessing that follows will be pure too. Somebody shout, Lord, purify my motives, align my intentions, prepare me for the blessing. Every victory comes with weight. Every promise comes with pressure. Every blessing comes with responsibility. And if God just handed it to you without preparation, it would crush you instead of crown you. That's why waiting is not wasted. It's education. Waiting is training. Waiting is equipping. Because what you learn in waiting equips you for what you'll carry in winning. See, everybody wants the win, but nobody wants the wait. Everybody wants the crown, but nobody wants the cross. Everybody wants the promise, but nobody wants the process. But God, in his wisdom, says, before I let you carry glory, I've got to let you carry waiting. Before I let you handle winning, I've got to let you be schooled by silence. Because there are lessons in waiting you can't learn any other way. In waiting, you learn discipline. You learn how to pray when nothing is moving. You learn how to worship when nothing is shifting. You learn how to stand when the ground feels shaky. That discipline will serve you when you win. Because when you step into blessing, distraction will come, temptation will come, pressure will come, and it is what you learned in the waiting that will anchor you in the winning. In waiting, you learn humility. Nothing humbles you like waiting on God's timing. You can't manipulate it. You can't buy it. You can't fake it. You have to bow to his sovereignty. You have to acknowledge that he is God and you are not. And that humility will protect you in the winning. Because pride is the enemy of destiny. Pride destroys what blessing builds. But if you've been trained to stay low in waiting, you won't get high and mighty in winning. In waiting, you learn stewardship. When you don't have everything you want, you learn to manage what you do have. You learn to stretch resources, to budget your time, to value relationships, to treasure small victories. And that stewardship becomes critical when you win. Because the more you carry, the more you must manage. God won't trust you with abundance if you can't handle little. That's why Jesus said, "He who is faithful in little will be faithful in much." The waiting is your classroom for stewardship. Look at Moses. He spent 40 years in the backside of the desert before leading Israel out of Egypt. 40 years tending sheep, walking wilderness paths, listening to God in solitude. All of it looked like wasted time, But it wasn't. It was equipping time. Because when he stepped into the winning season, leading millions through that same wilderness, he had already been trained in that terrain. What he learned in waiting equipped him for what he carried in winning. Or consider David again. The skills he learned defending sheep prepared him for defending a nation. The patience he gained running from Saul prepared him for ruling with mercy. The prayers he prayed in caves became the psalms that still comfort us today. His waiting was not wasted. It was equipping him to carry the weight of kingship. Even Jesus demonstrates this. Before Calvary, there was Gethsemane. Before the cross, there was waiting in prayer. Before resurrection, there were 3 days in the tomb. Each waiting season equipped him for the weight of glory he was destined to carry. If the Son of God was not exempt from waiting, neither are we. Some of you are in a waiting room right now, and you're frustrated. You think it's wasted time. You think nothing is happening. But I came to tell you, this is training camp. This is preparation season. God is building stamina in you. He's teaching you lessons you'll need later. He's equipping you with weapons for future battles. You may not see it now, but when the wind comes, you'll realize every tear, every delay, every night of crying was loading you with wisdom, power, and resilience. Winning without waiting creates weak carriers. That's why some people get opportunities and can't sustain them. They prayed for platforms, but they never learned patience. They prayed for blessings, but they never learned stewardship. They prayed for elevation, but they never learned humility. The crown becomes too heavy if the character hasn't been strengthened in waiting. But those who wait on the Lord renew their strength. They mount up with wings like eagles. They run and don't get weary. They walk and don't faint. That's the promise of waiting. It equips you to soar in winning. Sometimes the very lessons you learn in waiting are the tools that sustain your victory. Joseph learned administration in Potiphar's house and leadership in prison. Those lessons became the very skills he needed to govern Egypt in his winning season. Esther learned submission and strategy in her waiting season of preparation. Those lessons equipped her to carry the mantle of delivering her people. Paul learned contentment in prison, and that very contentment empowered him to spread the gospel no matter his circumstances. The waiting was the school, the winning was the test, and they all passed because they submitted to God's timing. Don't waste your waiting. Don't sit bitter, angry, complaining, thinking nothing's happening. Pay attention to the lessons. God is teaching you how to trust, how to endure, how to stand, how to steward. Because soon the win is coming. And when it does, you'll carry it with grace, with strength, with wisdom. You won't collapse under the weight. You'll thrive under it because you've been equipped in the waiting. So the next time you feel frustrated in the delay, remind yourself, this is not wasted, this is equipping. Every day I wait, I'm learning. Every prayer I pray, I'm growing. Every trial I face, I'm being strengthened. And when the blessing finally breaks through, I'll be able to say, what I carry now, I was equipped for then. Somebody shout, my waiting is my equipping. My waiting is my training. My waiting is preparing me for my winning. So hear me, child of God, every delay you've walked through, every prayer that felt unanswered, every season that felt silent, it wasn't wasted, it was working. God's timing has been training your trust. He's been shaping your character, stretching your faith, humbling your heart, refining your motives, and equipping you to carry what's coming. Don't curse the waiting room. It's the birthplace of warriors. Don't despise the silence. It's the soundtrack of your preparation. Don't confuse God's timing with God's absence. He's been there all along, building you for the blessing, strengthening you for the storm, and preparing you for the promise. Delay is not denial. It's divine development. Waiting seasons stretch your faith, sharpen your patience, and root you deeper in God's will. Trust grows strongest when sight is weakest. Preparation in the dark always precedes manifestation in the light. His timing purifies your motives and clears your heart. And what you've learned in waiting will empower you to carry the weight of your winning. Every scar is a lesson. Every tear is a seed. Every delay is a classroom. Every prayer in silence is a rehearsal for victory. So lift your head, square your shoulders, and declare to your own soul, I will trust the Lord's timing. I will not give up in the waiting. I will not faint in the silence. I will not despise the process. I will believe that God is working all things for my good and for His glory. And when your season shifts, when the door opens, when the breakthrough bursts forth, you'll understand that it wasn't just about what you were waiting for, it was about what God was building in you. His timing was never late. His hand was never absent. His plan was never broken. His timing was training your trust. If you receive that today, give God a shout of praise, because your waiting is not wasted. Your trust is being trained for triumph.